What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Monday. This slate just turned into quite a bit of a shit show. It's just crazy. This is just an absolutely crazy. Um, I don't know where to start, so I'm just gonna write a few things here in our Discord. I'll start in a minute. We're trying to update the projections. It's gonna take us a minute. Sorry, late news. All right, so yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare of a slate. So you're not looking for the ideal plays in this. The good plays. There's 7 million of them everywhere, and we are going to have to just try to rerun things in a minute. But I'll go through game by game and talk about some things that I want to do that's a little bit different. I don't even think it's going to be that different by the end of it. But guys who I just felt like were being maybe a little bit misprojected. Let's start off with I'm going to wait for Atlanta because Trae Young was just announced out, so we'll get there. We'll get to that, guys. We don't need to speculate on who's going to start or whatever for the first games. We're going to know the answer. I'm not going to speculate on it because it's kind of worthless in my opinion. All right, start with the Lakers. Without LeBron, well, obviously no Jackson Hayes, no Vinny Smith. I do really like Luka and Austin Reeves. I'll go. I bumped up Luka's projection. I'm probably going to bump it up a little bit higher just to get even more exposure. I really like Luka. Obviously, with no LeBron, he just got moved to probable. I'm guessing his projection naturally is going to change, but I'm going to still bump it up above where it's at because I really want to get Luka exposure tonight, and I also want to get Austin Reeves exposure. So bump those two up. I'm going to bump them up probably a little further, but that's where I'm at right now. On the Brooklyn side, the one player I'm interested in is D'Angelo Russell, although that interest is waning a little bit only because there's so many other plays out there. I did bump up his projection. Again, little revenge. Maybe they let him get a few extra minutes. It's not in LA, but there is a chance I think that he could see him closer to 30 minutes as opposed to the 27. And I do think he'll be gunning. He's a guy who's had vengeance in his heart before, and we're going to bet on that again. But that's really the only piece from Brooklyn I can get to with all this other news, unless something else magically happens. I'm actually going to bump this up a little bit, even though it's still going to be below the average. It's just that there's just nothing we can do about some of this value. It's going to be wild how much there is in very near future. I don't like this projection on Vucevic. I actually think I might even go make it a little bit lower. I don't think we need to play backup centers on the slate like this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to probably end up maybe not Xing him out, but he'll be in one lineup of mine. But I don't think that's anything else there. I do like Alex Sarr. I think it's a reasonable projection, and I like to play. I think Jordan Poole has a tremendous ceiling, so I'm going to leave that where it is. But I'm probably not going to end up getting to any of these other borderline plays, just as there's too much else on the slate by the time we rerun things. On the Toronto side, I initially was a little bit interested here. I'm not going to be very interested when all is said and done anymore. If you want to play Orlando Robinson, at least he's starting. I would prefer that over Vucevic, but I'm not overly excited about it either. And if I end up with like a small percentage, I'm fine with it. But it's really hard to prioritize this stuff with all that's out there, even though this looked like a spot early on that we would want to play some AJ Lawson or some Jared Rhoden. It's just not going to make a lot of sense right now. Not to say you couldn't filter those guys in. They're going to be low owned. It's maybe you could argue for taking a shot. There's just going to be so much value that I think is better than this. Moving over to Charlotte in Miami. This is just basically a stay away spot for me. If you wanted to make an argument to take a shot on LaMelo Ball at low ownership, I have no issue with that at all. That actually seems fairly reasonable to me. I think the projections are accurate, but I think you could always make a case for Ball or Bridges. But I'm just not going out of my way to do that on this particular slate. Halliburton now out too. Okay, great. Just more to deal with here. Miami side, this is the game that's definitely one of the least interesting on the slate for me. If you wanted to take a shot at a low-owned hero, I'm not going to have any issue with it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try and get to anything here. A hero would be the highest level of interest, followed by Bam, but I just don't think we need to do it. There's just so much else out there today. Utah and Boston. Boston should be updating pretty well by now. We still have Markkanen questionable. I think John Collins is a reasonable play. He's going to have no ownership. It's that weird mid-tier price that I think people are going to stars and scrubs for good reason. I'm going to probably do stars and scrubs as well a little bit, but I don't mind if you ended up with a little bit of John Collins at low ownership. I think it's totally reasonable. And good evening to you, to Rick. Good to see you, bud. Let's see. Boston on the other side. This is obviously I haven't rerun everything. Let's talk about priority. So I think Jaylen Brown is the highest level of interest I have for sure. Obviously, we can see no Tatum, no Porzingis, no Horford. I think you could definitely make a case for everyone here. Just we have so much value. Do we need to get involved in this? Hauser, I think I'd prefer Cornette a little bit over Hauser, but it's pretty close. And then I think Pritchard is a pretty strong play as well. And I think the projections are coming to more where I have him. I think this is a really reasonable spot. Also, even in a blowout, he might get some of that extra fourth quarter run, depending on how the blowout's organized. But White, Pritchard, Holiday, Pritchard and Brown would be my favorites, followed by White, then Holiday. But I think they're all totally firmly in play. It's really hard with those guys out to not have interest there. I initially bumped these up here for Orlando, and I actually am kind of okay with leaving it. I think Paolo, like, again, we're going to be able to get like 3 studs in lineups. I think Paolo makes sense as another one to get, and I actually don't mind the idea of getting to a little bit of Franz if I'm not getting to Paolo, although it's just not, I mean, again, I'm not bumping him up much, just a half a point or whatever. You just don't need to do it. What else do we get? Okay, so let's see, Halliburton out, and that's not going to be updated yet. So we'll go that game after Atlanta. On the Houston side, look, we have no Fred VanVleet, and initially we thought he was going to play tonight. I think it's worth it to bump these guys up. I'm not sure how much I end up getting to. I think the one that's maybe the most interesting is Jabari Smith. But do we need to do that kind of play? Probably not on this slate. Can we take some shots? Absolutely. I think Tari Eason is actually really interesting as well. I think there's enough ceiling there to play these mid-range guys that people are going to kind of forget about on this slate. But those are the main ones. And then I think obviously always can take a shot, even in a bad matchup, on Jalen Green. Just bumping up a tiny bit, probably not going to end up with much of him when all is said and done. I do like the idea of getting to Jokic today. I'm fine with the Russ projection with no Aaron Gordon and no Strother. I think Russ is completely viable, assuming that he does in fact start again. But I like Jokic tonight. I think Jokic goes out there and has a big game, and I think it's going to be pretty easy to get to him now. So I am on the Jokic against OKC. This is a competitive. I think this game's going to be more competitive than it's being treated. And what is it, 9.5 spread? I like Denver to play this one tough, and I think that they can win this game. That's just my take. I think they have some matchup advantages. OKC has been unbelievably good, so it feels kind of stupid saying this stuff out loud. But I'm just telling you what I am going to do. And I am definitely going to bump up the Jokic projection, leave Westbrook, who's already got a great projection where he is. I might even bump up Jokic a little bit higher. I just think I want exposure to this ceiling. We all know what the ceiling is, and this could be, I'm not saying he's going to get 100 again, but it certainly is not off the table that he gets 90 plus. I bumped up Shea. I bumped up Jalen Williams. Competitive games, these guys tend to put up big numbers, so I like them. And I bumped up a tiny bit on Hartenstein, but not a crazy amount. You do have Chet back. I think Chet's kind of an interesting contrarian play here. I don't think people are going to play him much. What do we have in minutes-wise? 24? Yeah, maybe they're careful with him. That's the only thing, but I actually kind of like Chet in this game. I just think the minutes are a little bit tough for me to sell myself on. All right, we're going to skip Indy, Chicago. We'll close those out with the last ones. Yeah, it's a wild slate, as Team Underground says. It is. You should, as Sheets would say, you should get 200,000 for first place, not 100,000 for the lottery for this kind of a slate. It's going to take 400 plus to win on DraftKings, and it's going to probably take around 430 to win on FanDuel in the large field tournaments. Phoenix initially was going to be very into Tyus Jones, not getting to nearly as much of it anymore. It is interesting that KD is getting maybe a little bit lower ownership than I thought. And I think that Devin Booker, I could see him just like having this outlandish game here. And I kind of like the idea of getting some Booker. So I want to bump this up. If I don't get to any of it, I might go back to it. These are spend ups I think that are very, very viable. Memphis plays really fast. If the game stays competitive and when they're missing players, I think we can definitely take some shots here as a little bit of a game stack. John Conchar, I'll let you guys know what I'm doing with that one later. Right now, I'm leaving it. Just leaving the projection. I like Scottie Pippen Jr. Again, I don't need to change the projections to do that. I don't think we're going to need to play Brandon Clark in this slate, but it's totally fine to. I don't think we're going to need to play Zach Edey, but it's totally fine to. But Bane and Morant, the thing is, it's missing Vince Williams, missing Jaren Jackson, obviously Kennard, Aldama. somebody's gonna step up here, but they do have a lot of bodies, so I don't want to get overly exposed to some of these thinner value plays when we've got other spots where you're going to need the value to actually, control the game. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia. When I say that, did I skip Philadelphia? Yeah, Philly Atlanta is going to be the one that's going to turn into a little bit of a stacky situation. I should have known by the spread that Trey was going to sit. But yeah, I think this is an interesting game stack, but I would probably focus more on the Ja and Bain and Durant or Booker versus some of the other value, which to me is going to look a little bit thin. I do like Scottie Pippen Jr. in general a ton. I think he probably has a nice game here. Just think we're going to have some other pieces that are even cheaper that are going to be even better plays. All right, moving over to Dallas. Again, the spot where initially it looked like we were going to get a bunch of it, probably not going to be in the cards as much anymore. I do really like the Najee Marshall play. This projection does feel a little aggressive. I pumped it down a little bit, but I think it's reasonable. I don't know where I stand on this one. This is one where it's very weird to see that kind of a projection on Najee Marshall. I don't know what to do with it, to be honest with you. I'm still struggling with it. PJ Washington obviously is out. I look, Dallas has usually in this situation we'd be playing all Dallas because they only have 9 bodies. There's just a lot out there. So I bumped it down. I still think we're going to get to some of it. The Najee Marshall is probably my favorite play here. I don't think we have to play a chalky Clay. Now he can always shoot his way into a game and you can feel like silly, but I think it's a little bit a little too much assuming that he's going to have a big game. I like Max Christie as a contrarian play. I bumped his projection up. Oh, it's not didn't bump up as much as I thought I did. I did bump it up, but then I dropped it got bumped up quite a bit. He's been kind of nothing lately. It's a little worrisome, but I still think it's worth taking a stab or two. All right, over in San Antonio. Look, we have no Sohan, obviously no Wemby. It feels like there should be better plays here. If there was one that I could sell myself on, it might be Keldon Johnson. I think there's enough ceiling, and I think there's enough ceiling for Devin Vassell. So those are the two that I would be the most interested in. Chris Paul is fine, but I don't think you need to do it. He is 5,200. It's really cheap for Chris Paul. But I don't know that I'm going to want to do that much with this game, with the San Antonio side of this game. Still trying to figure that out. I will, as I always do, go into the premium Discord and finish out the way I feel about the slate, and you guys will see exactly what I'm doing because we're all about transparency here. I do want to also mention we've got some awesome packages available that are literally going to go up by a lot. You might want to get in while you're getting grandfathered in. We have partnered with PayDirt, which we're really excited about. McCool over there has done an incredible job. A lot of different types of information that actually apply to sports betting as well as DFS, and I think it's really valuable for those of you who are site members to check out some of James's stuff. It's really awesome. We're going to be offering some incredible packages that include all of SaberSim, all of James's stuff. Obviously, all of our projections. Sheets is out right now, as we all know. But Sheets and Goldie's projections are the nuts. I do want to mention to everybody, don't use Goldie's projections today because NBA is a different animal and there's so many injuries, and Goldie had to run at 6:30 Eastern. So I would not be using Goldie's projections for anything more than maybe a reference point, but know that they're a little bit late because they don't have certain players in there. Trey Young out and LeVert out. Okay, great. I saw the Trey Young. I did not see the LeVert yet. So we're going to have a lot of stuff going on. And I'm going to remind everybody, TJ McConnell officially a game time decision, which obviously changes things in Indy. It's going to be a lot of mathering for me, I think, is what's going to happen when I end up rebuilding. But we'll get to that game in just a minute. I think we've got enough now to get over to Philly. Obviously, this projection on Lonnie Walker looks a little like stunning when you first look at it, but it's hard to know how else they're going to get shots. Now, they do have other bodies, which is why I wanted to be not below the field, but I wanted to lower the projection a little bit. I might even lower it a little bit more. It's still going to be an incredible point per dollar play, pretty much no matter what you do. I'm probably not going to get to very much Adam Bona. I just think there's other ways to go. You don't need to play a backup center unless – did we get word? Oh, I guess maybe we got word while I was on air. Oh, the Drummond is officially out. That could change things if they end up starting Bona, but I'm curious who they actually end up starting. I'll cover in the premium section because the guy I bumped up the most, though, I really like the Quentin Grimes play. I can't believe I'm arguing for Quentin Grimes at 6,800. We know there's a ceiling there. He's put up 40 or more in 3 out of the last 5, including that big 63-point game. I'm not saying he's going to put up those numbers again, but they need somebody to score. and they don't have many scores. And I'm really interested in how they end up doing their starting lineup today. They've only got 10 bodies available, and Hood, Scafino, Bona, Reese are not guys who have played many minutes. I think Ricky Council is the interesting one for me. I bumped him up, and then his projection went up. So now Ricky Council is going to look like even better. I'm actually going to go even a little bit higher. I really like Ricky Council. I don't think there's anything revolutionary. Everybody knows that he's a good play tonight, just because of the number of bodies. I love George Niang as a real life basketball player. I don't think I need to eat that chalk. Now, could it come back and bite me? Sure. I think that there's something we've got to figure out elsewhere here. It might be Terrence Mann. We need somebody to create shots, right? On the Atlanta side. And you take away Trey, you take away Trey, you take away Levert. I think we're probably looking at guys like Terrence Mann, Dyson Daniels, perhaps even Ricochet. They have bodies, but if Keaton Wallace starts, I think that's the answer. I don't know where Keaton Wallace is going to end up projection-wise. Right now, they don't have very much love for him. I'm probably going to change that if he does it. I mean, obviously, if he starts, his projection will change. But I think that they would end up starting Keaton Wallace, would be my guess. Again, we don't need to speculate. We'll get the starting lineups in. Just a lot of stuff today. Lauri Markkanen just ruled out as well, which, again, that's partly why I like John Collins. So I do think that's a reasonable play, but nothing that's crazy. So, yeah, awesome to hear, Temming. I'm glad you like the new stuff that they're doing over there. It's incredible, the pay dirt stuff. We're really happy, and we feel like we have a unique product that like literally nobody else in the industry is offering, with all different types of whatever type of player you are. With 3max, SaberSim on its own is an amazing product. Everything we've done with the pay dirt stuff is awesome. Sheets and Goldies projections, I would argue, are right there with everyone's in the industry. Again, I don't use it for basketball because there's too much up to the minute. It's very hard to update that much in time, but I use it for every other sport. And if it's a small slate that all starts at once, or if I'm playing a turbo or a showdown, then I will use their projections. Yeah, this slate has gotten completely out of control. So if I rebuild, and I'll just do run one rebuild now, just to see where like it's getting me to, because I do feel like there's just so many plays. You're not trying to get the best play. You're trying to get a good play. You're trying to get the absolute best play, and everything else is you're playing for ceilings, basically, which is partly why a guy like Niang, even with a good projection, I don't think we need to do it. Now, he can get there. It's not like he's a shot creator. I mean, in fact, they don't really have like a natural shot creator. I guess you could argue Dyson Daniels. I guess you could argue Terrence Mann. I definitely think you could argue Keaton Wallace or beat Krejci. Krejci might be the one who ends up being the answer, and we don't even have him barely projected. So we'll keep an eye out for the starting lineup. But I'm probably going to, just get lots of different exposure to a lot of guys on the Atlanta side. At least as of right now, that's probably what would happen. But we're just running. I remember I changed some projections already, so I'm already getting a little bit different that way than SaberSim. All right, let's see what we've got here. It's going to take a while to build. Look, even this has got to be confusing. I mean, they're running through 9 million plays. I might even like argue that look, in basketball, you don't leave money on the table. Tonight, it's 10 games, so I'm not going to. But if it was like 6 or 7, I probably would leave money on the table, just because there's just so much out there. And that's, I think, what's throwing off that, SaberSim's default is 49,000 if there's 8 or more games. It's 48,000, I believe, if it's 7 or less. Maybe it's 6 or less. Somebody can correct me on that one. But if I ended up with 500 or 600 left on the table, I'm not going to sweat it. I'll let it cook. That's just where I'm at. We got golf coming up later this week too. Get excited about that one. This has been historically my best tournament for golf. For whatever reason, the players, I always do really well, and should have won the million once, but Dustin Thomas decided on the 18th hole to hole it from 180 yards, and that was or 170 something yards, and that was a little tilting. Sheets ended up finishing second. I finished 5th in the lottery, and that one was for $1 million for first. Pretty brutal to lose $975,000 that way. In fact, I don't know of a more brutal way to do it. The only good news is I didn't know that would be it at the time, but I ended up with the best non-DJ lineup, and that was tough. That was a couple years ago. All right, let's just see where we're at. We run the Sims. I'm gonna not touch the even uniques for this purpose. I will go through exactly what I'm doing with everyone on our site very shortly, probably at 7 Eastern when I get out of here. I'm just going to make sure I note to everybody, do not use Goldie's projections tonight. Projections for NBA. Way much. All right. So let's just see. Okay, so I'm gonna, again, I don't like to show everything, so it's still gonna be all the Lonnie Walker. The Niang thing, I'm gonna lower this. I don't want that much. I'm fine with the Jaylen Brown, but I don't think you need to do it. I think there's plenty of ways that could go. Getting to a ton of Luka and a ton of Jokic, which I'm very happy about. I think that's sort of like my look. I think it might be a cash build, like to literally play Luka and Jokic with this value. And then you can find another guy to spend in the middle. Maybe it's Jaylen Brown. Maybe it's Peyton Pritchard and another 6K guy. That's another way to go. Shepard is out for Houston. That doesn't mean much, but thank you for the update, MC. Just another maybe a little bit of a boost for all the Houston guys who are available in what's supposed to be a competitive game. Don't think it's going to factor in heavily, but I do think that, every extra body who's out probably means Aaron Holiday just plays those minutes, though. I don't think it's really going to change much. All right, guys, so that's sort of my little rundown. I will just take a quick look at FanDuel and just see, just done value-wise. I mean, look, you can see I tried to do this as late as I could today, and look how much news has come in. There's just so many guys out. All right, so let's just see where the value goes. Yeah, you're looking at similar things. I just don't know if I buy the Niang at this owner. Like, I think he's going to be popular, and I just think there's so much value. He's not a shot creator. He's a catch and shooter, 3-and-D defender. Good guy, nice guy, good player. But I don't think we need to go crazy with this. That's just where I'm at. Yeah, I feel like that. I guess that's my biggest of the chalk takes. I don't think I need to get this much of Orlando Robinson. I'll probably lower this number at least a little bit to get less of it, but still waiting for some things to update. Still more time, obviously, before lock. Any other questions you guys want to drop them in right now, because I'll answer for a couple minutes. And as I mentioned, we've got the SaberSim stuff, but if you want to get different using it, we don't use Goldie's tonight, but you can use the PayDirt stuff. PayDirt is a good place to go to differentiate your SaberSim builds from other SaberSim users, even, which is, look, there's a lot of the best players in the world, they use SaberSim exclusively. This at least gives you a different type of build than those guys do. Anyway, do you need Lonnie Walker in your lineup tonight? If he starts, it's a scary fade. There is a path for him not to go nuts. Now, his path is one if he doesn't start. Also, he is scoring dependent somewhat, pretty scoring dependent. He had 11 rebounds in the last game. That's a real outlier for him. Maybe the path is also that he scores 25 fantasy points, which is not bad, but there might be another guy in the cheaper range that, like maybe Jared Butler, puts up the bigger game at 40 plus. So I don't think you absolutely have to play him, even though I'm getting to 90% of them right now. I think that you're going. I think it's a good play. I think it's good chalk on most slates. There's just so many other ones. I think if you wanted to be underweight that's completely fine by me. Any interest in the Indiana Chicago? I have a ton of interest in that game. I'd like to know who's playing. I'd like to know if McConnell's playing, first of all. These projections feel funky to me. I like on FanDuel, they made, I don't know why Mathurin is as low. I lowered it. That's why. There we go. That's right. Yeah, Mathurin is, I actually raised it, and then it ended up lowering it because of how many guys were out, Halliburton being out. I love Mathurin. I don't care if he starts. I don't care what they do. With no Shepard, also, that's more minutes for him. Really like the Mathurin play. That's my favorite piece over there. Siakam, Mathurin. Turner, it's a great matchup, but I don't think it's like the massive boost that everyone thinks just because Halliburton's out. It's a boost. It's not a huge one. And Halliburton, why? Oh, I changed his projection. That's what's throwing it off. See, this is what happens. You got to go back through it, and I'm going to go back through it for all the people before I do my final thoughts. Siakam, I had raised his projection. It went up, obviously, after no Halliburton. And McConnell playing is pretty freaking huge, whether he plays or not. So, unfortunately, we're probably not going to know that at lock. That's kind of a big piece of news. On the Chicago side, yeah, we're getting 26 to 28 minutes out of Vucevic, so I'm not playing him. In fact, I'll just say I'm just not going to play him. Whatever, I'm not going to get to him anyway. I do think Giddey on both sites is completely viable. We've seen a monster ceiling from him. It's a great matchup, so I'm good with Giddey. I don't think there's anything else on FanDuel, but I kind of like a long shot Kobe White play on DraftKings. Nothing that's immediately actionable to me. I just don't think it's like that. It's a great spot, but there's just so many good spots tonight. You could end up getting a guy 6xing, and that might not even be close to good enough. Jared Butler, they lowered his price down a little bit, which is interesting. Oh, not much though. I'm sorry, his projection. And I was actually trying to be a little bit lower on Butler and on Lonnie. They've lowered as well, which I feel better about. I didn't like the 38 projection on Lonnie. That just seems like it can never be the median. Top 5 exposures, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go through that, Corey. If you're a site member, jump on into the Discord channel. I'll talk about it in there. I don't know what my top 5 exposures are going to be. I'm going to guess Lonnie Walker and Jared Butler will be 2 of them. I'm going to guess Jokic and Luka will be maybe not top 5, but they'll be right in there. And I'm going to guess at least one guy from Boston. That's sort of if I'm building tonight, that's the way I'm building. But yeah, I'm going to try to avoid, if I can, talking too much about my end-to-ending exposures on this show. I want to do that for the site members only and really be there for them. Even though I love being here with you guys. Having said that, please click the like button and all that stuff. We do want to still keep doing some free content videos, but we're definitely trying to gear more towards our subscriber base as we are growing. That's sort of where I'm at. But and I don't always know who's a subscriber by their name in here. So if you are, let me know, and I'm happy to go over it with you in the Discord channel, and I'll also post. If I'm able to, I'll post my latest stuff. But really, being in the basketball is so fluid. It's like basketball is like the one DFS sport where it feels like you're always playing. You know, like you're in the whole time. It's like playing poker. But like the other ones, you can set it and forget it. Basketball, you're just constantly going through it, late swapping, changing things. That's where we're at. Anyway, appreciate everybody for being here. Get another update. Let's just see if this changes. This Yang projection. I'm just going to call. Oh, there's the Keaton Wallace we're looking for. That's what I expected to happen a little bit sooner, but I think that's what we're going to end up seeing is Keaton Wallace, Lonnie Walker, Jared Butler are sort of like the core cheap guys, and they did drop the projection, if I'm not mistaken, on Yang. Where is? This is my problem with Yang. I always I do this all the time with him now. I always forget which team he's on. He's on Atlanta now. Yeah, this seems more reasonable. I didn't like that projection, and neither did SaberSim as a median. I'm not saying he can't get there. I'm just saying as a median, it was way too high. So closer to the minute is the best. I'm going to jump on into the premium Discord channel. As always, guys, we appreciate the support. Check out the packages. Come join us. And again, like I said, the packages are going to go up very, very soon. So hopefully you guys can get in there as soon as you possibly can. Good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you guys crush it. And let's see some screenshots later. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the Discord and see you guys hopefully your name's in the